예술이 뜻 Tenzin.
Hello, can I explain?
GSTDL. Oh yeah. Namo Guru Be Namo Medaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sangaya Namo Guru Be Namo Medaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sangaya Namo Guru Be Namo Medaya Namo Dharamaya Namo Sangaya Gayante Alayanje Goyanje Toya Gayane Ravaya Karaya Hyosa Goyanje Chayanje Chaya 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 Bo Goyan Chaya Loya Zaya Cha Saya Toya Chaya Bo Nendra Ikaya Soya So Jaya Jaya Namaya Kara Saya Jaya Beya De Jaya Jaya Laya Ma Jaya Beya Zamaya Kara Yaki Daya Loya Deya Be Saya Namaya Kaya Joya Do Daya Baya Jaya Shara Karaya Jaya Yoya Soya So Shaya Jaya Chaya Kaya Galaya Vaya Loya Jaya To Kaya Zaya Noya Vi Jaya Jaya Leya Kaya So Jaya Beya Beya Jaya Lamaya Maraya Jaya Beya Ko Toya Jaya Jaya Be Jaya Jaya Loya Shaya Se Yaya Moya Jaya Ge Naya Soya Meya Doya Da Jaya Gemaya Doya Be Naya Sena Jaya Jaya So Waya Jama Yaya Jor Jaya 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 Soya De Saya Namaya Jaya Jo Jaya Laya Jaya Bayambur Daya Gaya Toya Me Jaya Naya Saya Baya Laya Ngaya Jaya Daya Baya Jaya Jaya Da Jaya Paraya Damaya Ba Samaya Jaya Maya Jaya Sho Jaya Naya Jaya Ba Jaya Beya Soya Saraya Jaya Maya Jaya Dara Maya Jaya Ramaya Lahaya Jaya 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 Baya Be Jaya 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 She Vaya Boya Jaya Jaya la ya che yan ze ya pa ya la da ya ja ya sa ya pa me ye ya ra ya ngo ye ya zhe ya la ya ma da ma ya ba ya che ya na ma ya che che ya ku ya ka ya la che yan ze ya zhe ya che ya ne che ya ta ra ya cham ya be da la ya she ya ze ya ma ya la sa ba ya je ya che ya che cha ra ya ba ya ba ya to ya sa na ma ya da ya be ya se ye le ye ya ba ye so ya jo ya ko ya la cha ra ya no ya me ya nga ya ta ya ma ya no ya nga zo ya ko ya ra ya ba ya ni se ya ti ya ba ya do me ya no ma ya te ya ba ya yo da ya so ya ke ya ni sa ya be ya ge ya wa ya di ya ta ya ro ya wa ya la ya ka ya be ya ta che ya ba ya ge ya zhe lo ya sa ya ta ya ba ye te ya be ya ni ya bo re ya do ya sa ya she ya sho me ya zhe ya be ya ra ya che ya she ya re ya se ya me ya che ya be wa ya bo ya ja ma ya be ya de ya bo ya ma ya le ya ma ya ze ya sa ya be ya da ya che ya ke ya be so ya je ya zo ya ka ya ba lo ya sa ya ta ya be sha ba ya la ya so ya wa ya de me ya che ya be ya ra ya che ya she ya re ya se che ya me ya che ya be wa ya bo ya ja ma ya be ya de ya bo ya ma ya le ya ma ya ze ya sa ya be ya da ka ya ke ya ke ya be so ya je ya zo ya ka ya ba lo ya sa ya ta ya be ya ba ya la ya so ya wa ya de me ya ze ya be ya ra ya che ya she ya re ya se ya me ya che ya be wa ya bo ya ja ma ya be ya de ya bo ya ma ya le ya ma ya ze ya sa ya be ya da ya che ya ke ya be so ya je ya zo ya ka ya ba lo ya sa ya ta ya be sha ba ya la ya so ya wa ya de me ya ze ya be te ra ya she ya re ya se te ya me ya che ya be wa ya bo ya ja ma ya be ya de ya bo ya ma ya le ya ma ya ze ya sa ya be ya da ka ya che ya ke ya be so ya je ya zo ya ka ya ba ya sa ya ta ya be Shabaya Laya Soya Vayande Palaya Daya Jaya Vi Laya Maya Raya Boya Je Daya Soya Shaya Vara Peya Meya Daya Yoya La Kaya Daya Chaya Be Goya Naya Gaya Soya De Goya Soya Toya Je Goya Daya Jaya Daya Sar Palaya Daya Jaya Vi Laya Maya Raya Boya Je Daya Soya Nyaya Kara Peya Meya Daya Yoya La Kaya Daya Jaya Be Goya Naya Gaya Soya De Choya Daya Teya Mo Waya Daya Jaya Daya Sar Palaya Daya Jaya Vi Laya Maya Raya Boya Je Daya Soya Nyaya Kara Peya Meya Daya Yoya La Kaya Daya Jaya Be Goya Naya Gaya Soya De Shaya Joya Nyaya Be Paraya Doya Daya Bar Yo Maya Samaya Gaya Me Shaya Ravaya Paya Raya She Maya Jaya Maya Ga Nama Kaya Ngoya Oya Ni Soya Soya Raya Re Yaya Shaya Shaya Yaya Va Yaya Samaya Jaya Vi Yama Laya Shaya Seya Lo Deya Ta Gaya De Gaya De Gaya Raya Gaya De Gaya Raya Saya Gaya De Bodhi Soha Deya Ta Gaya De Gaya De Gaya Raya Gaya De Gaya Raya Saya Gaya De Bodhi Soha Deya Ta Gaya De Gaya De Gaya Raya Gaya De Gaya Raya Saya Gaya De Bodhi Soha. Giri Donda Jiki Kiwanda Midini Bikina Tawada Timba Doye Pesu Sujet Tayede Jatendele Saye Peje Joje Medo Tama Rero Nije Nyede Kembande Sanje Jendo Mede Bewa Ye Doge Namda Shin Shebar Aiko Yedama Guru Rana Mandela Gani Adaya Sanganje Chedon Choje Chono Na Janjo Bando Nane Janjo Tage Chujo Yeve Sonam Yen Dola Peshe Sanje Dopara Sho Sanganje Chedon Choje Chono Na Janjo Bando Nane Janjo Tage Chujo Yeve Sonam Yen Dola Peshe Sanje Dopara Sho Sanganje Chedon Choje Chono Na Janjo Bando Nane Janjo Dage Chujo Yeve Sonam Yen Dola Peshe Sanje Dopara Sho Ola majona gitada nyambi sangi tanji tendo Kojalana me ba yanda ba zobi sangi kombaran ba kigin jitaba shago pe tobra shawi cheto ambe choyorum ba jisenya be kono changi jisemchi se sembe gon sempre kyo.
Let me remind all of ourselves to cultivate the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of liberating infinite, kind, mother sentient beings. With that kind of bodhicitta motivation, that we should all participate in this teaching.
Ane daja tombe heje toba ane san jene ane dijana la ta ko dang song dong ni tabi tab tamba de karen do zigdu chane ta kyo temba khona le ane da kyo tene ane dijala pinto sheba zigres.
When Shakyamuni Buddha performed the deed of attaining complete enlightenment, afterwards he sat in contemplation, thinking about what would be the most beneficial thing that one could do to help sentient beings be freed from the suffering of samsara or single existence. And what he really realized was that giving spiritual teaching or through spirituality he would be able to provide the means or the methods with which sentient beings would be able to liberate themselves from the state of samsara.
So that gumba mambo here is kare sana ane sanje nam ta gidene peba te duje te peba te duje na ane nyomo ba de kiji do ba togo de togo tap te ane ta chu tue me bata ane tun de ba chu mu ri ro don shag se me bata chu tue me ba shag se me ba ane sanje ran ji ji be to ba te ane ya duje ji pa do si poya me bata te ji zi res.
Buddhas and enlightened beings, they manifest in different world systems, including ours, in order to benefit sentient beings spiritually. And our historical Buddha Shakyamuni's coming to this world was no different. It was for the same purpose, that is to benefit sentient beings. Buddhas and enlightened beings clearly realize that sentient beings have two types of mental obscuration. One is what we call delusions or delusive obscurations, and the other is obscuration to omniscient state or wisdom. So in order to benefit sentient beings, they need to provide beings with means or methods by which beings would be able to get rid of those two mental obscurations from within their mind, and then they can find lasting peace, happiness, and freedom. So in the process, how to do that, the Buddhas have realized, and they stated it very clearly, as Geshe was trying to quote the lines from his memory. Buddha said, we cannot wash your negativities and suffering away with some water, blessed water. We cannot remove your suffering and its causes, as if we could take things, out of your system. We cannot, remove it with our hands. We cannot transfer our realizations or the spiritual qualities into your minds. And so now what can they do? The only thing they can do to benefit sentient beings is to show the truth, to reveal the true path, and that is the way they can benefit sentient beings the most. So realizing that once the truth is revealed to sentient beings, and sentient beings realize the truth, then they are able to liberate or free themselves from suffering and its causes. And with that realization and with altruistic intention and motivation, our historical teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, he gave numerous spiritual teachings which are generally categorized within what we call, traditionally called, the three turnings of the wheel of Dharma, or the three types of spiritual, discourses. Shakyamuni Buddha taught innumerable things, and we often say that he taught as many as 84,000 forms of spiritual discourse. But they are categorized, or they could be contained within what is known as three baskets of teachings, or Tripitikas. The three baskets of teachings, or the Tripitikas, are the basket of discipline, or Vinaya Pitika, the basket of discourses, or Sutra Pitika, and the basket of exalted knowledge or wisdom, Abhidhamma Pitika. So within these three Pitikas, or the baskets, all of Buddha's teachings could be, brought within, are contained in these baskets. So those are the three containers of Buddha's teachings, if you will. We call three baskets, for lack of better words. In Sanskrit called Tipitikas, and in Tibetan called Tenersum. And so what is contained within these baskets or the containers, if you ask, what is the subject matter? What are the materials, of these containers, if you ask? The answer to that question is the three higher trainings are the subject matter or the content of these containers. Vinaya Pitaka, or this particular container or the basket, deals with Buddha's teachings on ethics or morality, moral disciplines.
Geshe Tsultim Gyeltsen 단들이 아니 계획하나 어떤 랭귀지하나 먼저 순야 그다 소생기리스.
So when we talk about ethics or morality, Shila in Sanskrit and Tsultim in Tibetan, what we're really talking about is we can categorize the ethics into two types, so we can understand it in two different ways. One is called, ethics in the sense of, I should say, not doing what is considered negative actions, by way of the nature of the actions. It's not so much, formulating rules and regulations, but because of the very nature of certain actions, if we do them, they are negative. So there are ethics concerning them, not to do those negativities. But then some of the ethics are to do with, special rules and regulations Buddha laid down. So we can find the two types of ethics in Buddhism, broadly stated. One are the ethics dealing with actions which are negative by nature that we should not do or we should abandon, and others are the actions which become ethics because of Buddha's, rules and regulations or laws.
다 미게 좁은 것처럼데 다 추는 것 남아도 비시기는 다 망버려서 등이 가능해서는 그러나 미게 좁은 것처럼데 아니 다 침바다라도 송하다 아니 dombe denki 참말로 다 송게 미게 좁은 것처럼들이 시 송제.
So there are certain ethics which are common to all, practitioners, if you will, monastics or lay, does not matter. So that's why we often talk about ethics of abandoning 10 negative actions of body, speech, and mind. And such ethics are common to all practitioners at all different levels, or different practitioners of different status. Status meaning whether you're monastic or not.
다 라디오쇼 게촌롱 domba 다 라디오쇼 지금 된저 아니 다 라디오쇼 다 dom데 장다 송고해 지리스.
So the ethics of abandoning 10 negative actions are, very good example of, that category of ethics which deal with negativities, which are negative by way of their nature. Nobody has to, they are not negative because Buddha said so. Because anybody can do any of those negative actions of body, speech, mind. It is negative because of the very nature of actions. So there are ethics not to do them. But then there are other types of ethics, such as, monastic ethics. One takes, for lack of better words in English, novice, monk, or nun ordination. One can take, full ordination. So once one has taken monastic ordination, one has to observe many kinds of vows and ethics. So these are good examples of the second category of Buddhist ethics, if you will.
다 장기세비 넘바도 상가시 넘바요니 다 넘데 주고마도 다 된리 맨나데 돈줄레니 메레스.
And of course, within this category of ethics, due to, if we could say Buddha's many rules and regulations or laws set forth by Buddhas, we also find Bodhisattva ethics and also Vajrayana ethics or Tantric ethics. Now, these different types of ethics are only applicable to those practitioners who have, taken these ethics. If one has taken the monastic ordination, or if one has taken Bodhisattva ethics, if one has taken Tantric ethics, all of the above, then transgressing those ethics would constitute negativity. But people who have not taken monastic ordination, not taken bodhisattva ethics, not taken tantric ethics, we cannot talk about breaking these ethics or transgressing these ethics. So we cannot talk about these types of ethics in relation to people who have not committed or taken these ethics. So these are very different from the ethics of abandoning 10 negative actions of body, speech, and mind. I also want to make it clear that Tsultim, ethics or morality or Shila, is really a foundation practice for all practitioners. It is based on ethical foundation or the foundation of ethics that we are able to acquire and develop other spiritual qualities and realizations. So the point I'm trying to make here is that in Buddhism, so much emphasis is made on the importance of ethics or observing ethics. And there are so many different types of ethics, and as I just briefly mentioned to you. And our historical teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, trying to summarize, if you will, these different types of ethics and the importance of ethical practice said, as Geshe quoted the famous stanza from his memory. So Buddha said, so this is like his summary on ethics. Dikpachiya mijashi, never do or accumulate any negativity, any non-virtue. Gewa Pusum Sawache, always accumulate the wealth of virtue or positive actions. Rangisem Yongsotu, completely subdue or tame one's own mind, your mind, my mind. Okay, this is the teaching of Buddha. So this is Buddha is basically telling us that this is my summary advice to you, that what you should do. Do not do anything that is negative, but do that which is positive, and tame your mind, discipline, subdue your mind, and this is what I'm talking about. This is my advice, my teaching.
That Gedi Nimbote, Gewata, Dikpa Nimbote, and then what he would. Tambale, Pang Shegoras, Palan Shavala, and then Gedi Nimbote, what he goes.
So if that's what we need to do, of course, first we need to learn about, what is negativity or non-virtue, and Dikpa, and what is virtue or positive action, Geva. So if we don't understand the distinction between the two, we can't practice it. In a nutshell, negativity is to be understood as any harmful action, usually spoken in terms of harming others, actions motivated by or undergirded by delusions. Being motivated by a delusion or delusions, if we do anything that is harmful, such actions are to be understood as negative or non-virtuous actions.
So that Mambo get the hinger in a Sabbath so you know, when I tend to country sena, when a new but re. That new but that Mambo to get their dinner and your monk Sawat that took some.
So most of you already know, I assume, what we are talking about. But in case there are some new people here, so then I got to say a few things for their sake. When we talk about delusions or kleshas in Sanskrit, nyurmo in Tibetan, there are many, in our mind. But all of these delusions are to do with what we call three poisonous delusions, or we simply call three poisons.
Diva Megi Lake and it Sava in that Sava the Kun Jose Savandabate, Maripa Imbata, Tachu, Maripa Chagu.
So what we find in the three poisons or poison delusions at the very root, is the ignorance, avidya, marikpa in Tibetan. So we can be pretty sure that any negativity we do, it is rooted in, or it is the underlying that negativity is ignorance.
Oh, so when I'm usually number some to was, just a usually number some where time give saw a kepa, Majimba Lampa, the veil of Yamba, the same time, or the time the veil of Yambas. That's somebody, and then the catch couldn't shigi or country couldn't shigi or at the name, time Yamamba couldn't home to look and it's not to make a one any late in the sun when the was the Hago was.
And the other two poisonous delusions are attachment and anger. So the three poisonous delusions are ignorance, attachment, deja, and hatred or anger, called kongro or shedang. And now let me say, how these things might work. In the case of three negative actions of body, killing, and stealing, and indulging in adultery or sexual misconduct, our motivations could be either attachment. In most of the case, that seems to be the case, or it could be anger or hatred, or it could be ignorance.
So that the digger and it that Hana in Ark number ye, June Chama to Tungache, Yaboteane, the Kachi Queen in Lang, Marip Queen have the Tagiga. He told them the Kachi Queen in Lang, Contrary Queen in Lang, and the Yojo Queen in La Tatation in Yamubi, and a Yumubat and the Queen in Hane, and the late in the shooting race.
Actually, ignorance is pretty much there. Any negative we do, it is the ground, so to speak, on which we stand ourselves on. And then there are other delusions which complicate it, and often these delusions are attachment and anger. Now we can look at the four negative actions of our speech: lying, causing disharmony or divisions among good friends, speaking unpleasantly or using harsh words, and indulging in idle gossiping or meaningless, frivolous, useless talks. And so again, we find ourselves indulging in these negativities due to deluded motivations, often out of attachment, anger, all of the above, and grounded in the ignorance.
Yichigone, Sabi Lesum Yore, Napsent, Nesim Lotas, that and Jane, Mamari Queen in Labayashi, T. Toilette, the Chachi Queen in Lambata, the Gajan Kedan Queen, Contra Queen in Lambata, and the Yoju Queen in Lambata, then Mambundo was yours.
And then there are the three negativities of the mind: covetousness, napsem in Tibetan, nursem, harmful or malicious intent, and lotha, distorted view or perverted view. So again, you can find that, of course, we are grounded in ignorance, but our motivations are complicated by other delusions such as attachment, anger, deception, cheating, jealousy, you just name it. And so this is very important for us to understand how delusions instigate or underlie or motivate us to engage in all types of negative karmic actions.
Ani rang luta nga yisumbuti ani deba mege shol chibina ta deba savres gena neba chebina ta deba savres.
To sum up what I just explained, each of us performed actions physically, verbally, and mentally. In other words, that we use what we call traditionally the three doors of body, speech, and mind to engage in actions. And if such actions are motivated by a delusion or delusions, and actions are harmful in nature, then such actions are to be understood as negative, non-virtuous actions, or mikewa in Tibetan.
So that rank yen rank yen be senke kande chingina ya. That yen pama kande chingina ya tanzul never san shejme ta sheji amar lunga rank lunga kunil hang de yen never sheji amaris.
So what we really need to keep in our mind is that we must not harm any sentient beings. They could be our friends, or they could be strangers. There could be what we might see as enemies, but we must not do anything that is harmful to them, motivated by delusions. Such actions become negative actions.
Da ga punsun chobo dosi a gewat kharesin tange hyuba megi will loshot the rank anti megi will loshot the rank tela chombeina ta tibbeina ani ta gewa chagris.
And then Buddha said, never do or accumulate negative actions, but always do or accumulate the wealth of virtue or positive actions. So what are the positive actions or virtues, if you ask? Now the positive actions are the opposites of the negative actions. If you look at the 10 negative actions of body, speech, and mind, then not doing them, or their opposites, are the 10 positive actions of body, speech, and mind.
That thinking him I came bus any rank any Andre lunga ka le te ane yena ne pe rikki chagaduna ate te dibisholiche ane rang luta nga ka le te ane yena pembaki yunguduna tate gevile chagyares.
So if we find our actions of body, speech, and mind harmful in nature, harmful to others, then such actions are negative. If we find our actions of body, speech, and mind are helpful or beneficial to others, then they are positive actions. And ethics or the Shila practice is related to that. Ethics is related to abandoning or restraining us from negative actions.
Also, that the told that can get ane dodi reta lava thing is lava that rang the same soon at the kitchen which is. Penas thing is lava that mambo yours in a time in ale the Tashi that Hanton say and bata. Not condition any tap mambo cage that Zuzumi same thing to you. In a tali rank Hineta Hantonke that Mibala take the net tungi that Tandika and simply any Hines.
So then there is Sutra Pitaka, or the basket or container of discourses. So its content or the theme or the subject matter is what we call a higher concentration or samadhi. When we talk about samadhi or concentration, what we're really basically talking about is stability of mind. To be able to set our mind on a given focus. If we can put our mind single-pointedly on a given focus or an object, then that's what we call samadhi in a very general sense of understanding. Of course, there are different types or levels of samadhi or concentration, and we can talk about different levels of concentration relating to the form realm of existence, formless realm of existence. But to cut short the story, so to speak, perhaps the most important things to remember here is what we call cultivating calm abiding, or shamatha, shine in Tibetan, and combining that with special insight or wisdom called phakdong. So we just call it vipassana, so basically trying to achieve or cultivate shamatha and vipassana, calm abiding, mental tranquility, and special insight is a big part of the Sutra Pitaka or basket of discourses. So we need to make efforts to cultivate training in higher concentration within our mind, because it's very important for our spiritual attainments.
Something that is similar one young Jebunai Hirekano. Take a chemo.
Jerambuche Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa said in his what we call Lamrim treatise, which is called the Song of his Experience, Lamrim experience. And as Geshe quoted the relevant lines from that, he said, samadhi or concentration is just like a king. He's majestic, the king who rules over the kingdom of our mind. So it's so important, cultivating samadhi or concentration, sometimes translated as meditative absorption or stabilization. So that's very important. If we have the stability of the mind, it is as if, we are ruling over the kingdom of our mind. So the importance of samadhi or cultivating concentration, higher concentration, can be understood from once we have achieved it, let's assume, then our mind has gained so much stability that it does not matter what focus we choose for our mind. If we put our mind on a phenomenon or a focus, it will sit on it like a rock or like the Mount Meru. The Mount Meru is so stable and firm that it cannot be moved easily, or it does not get moved easily. In the same way, if we have samadhi in our mind, then our mind can sit like Mount Meru on a focus, unperturbed, undisturbed, unmoved. So once we have trained our mind really well in cultivating higher concentration or samadhi, that once we have those skills, if you will, then as soon as we connect our mind with anything that is positive, our mind will just get absorbed into that positive phenomenon or doing the positive thing. So what can we achieve from cultivating higher concentration or meditative absorption of samadhi, if you ask? Then Lama Tsongkhapa in the same book, he explains the outcomes of that. He says, as Geshe quoted the lines, we will experience this bliss physical and mental bliss which arise out of the pliancy of body and mind. Our body and mind become so pliant and supple that they give rise to this tremendous physical and mental bliss. So such are the outcomes of cultivating higher samadhi.
So
So my point here is that training in higher samadhi is the subject matter of basket or the container of discourses called Sutra Pitaka. Now, as you can probably sense it, how important that it is for us to cultivate samadhi or concentration in our mind. So now, what is the content or the subject matter of Abhidhamma Pitaka or basket of knowledge? So the container here is the wisdom. Training in higher wisdom or knowledge is the content of this container. We must cultivate training in higher wisdom, without which we cannot defeat our enemy of delusions. If we want to free ourselves from samsara or cyclical existence, we need to get rid of or cut off the very root of samsara. And how can we do that? We can only uproot samsara if we cultivate training in higher wisdom. To be explicit, what that means is that we need to cultivate wisdom that realizes emptiness, tongbani, shunyata, sunnata, as it is. Training in higher wisdom is as important as, because it is the eye through which we can see what emptiness is. And it is elucidating Buddha's words of the teachings, Rinpoche or Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa has said, as Geshe quoted the lines from his memory, wisdom, higher wisdom is the eye through which we can see the profound nature of emptiness. And, let me give an example here, that to be able to see things we call visible forms, we got to have good eyes, good sight. If we have good sight, we can see the forms. If we have poor eyes, we can't see clearly, and if we are blind, we don't see anything. See? So eyes are very important for us to be able to see things clearly. In the same way, if we have higher wisdom, then we are able to see emptiness clearly as it is.
And it
is stated very clearly that higher wisdom is the method or antidote with which we can cut off the root of samsara or cyclic existence. So if we are to cut the very root of samsara, and we know what the method is, the antidote is. But then we got to understand what is the root of samsara.
That is Ranjili, causing it the Ransoshi Julia Deris.
But the root of the samsara is to be found within one's own mind, within my own mind. In other words, when we talk about samsara or cyclical existence, samsara is not so much out there, but it is what is related to our own mind stream. So that the root of the samsara is to be found in our own mind.
That is correct. Ranjili Yepe, Ane, a leta Yomuni Puteris.
So what is the root, if you ask? What do we see, what do we need to find in our mind? In our mind, what we find are the delusions and contaminated karmic actions. So these two are the root causes of samsara.
Kovet's origin Yomota, Shed and Yomon Chever. That Kovet's origin Yomon as a head Karesana, Temu Marupateris, Dangzi Marupat.
When we talk about, the delusion, that is the root of samsara, and other delusions in generic, there is a difference. Every delusion is not the root cause of samsara. So we need to understand that. But what is the root delusion? What's the, really the underlying cause of samsara, if you ask? It is our ignorance. Ignorance is the root delusion. It's the root cause of samsara.
Then you want to say, that led you won't go in the honey, that rankulunga can leave me give us that give me a less about the letter less race.
So being motivated by or undergirded by the ignorance, that particular ignorance, and motivated by other delusions, when we engage in both positive and negative actions, we could be motivated by delusions and do positive things. Okay, so such actions are called karmic actions, and these are called contaminated karmic actions. So when we are motivated by delusions or undergirded by delusions and do positive and negative actions, such actions are contaminated karmic actions.
That is call a shave, jutil, later, we give out the Miguel Ninka, you're there, the Hughes.
So what we're really talking about here is what are the causes of being in samsara, if you ask. But the causes include contaminated karmic actions, and these contaminated karmic actions, could be both could be negative or could be positive. So positive actions could also keep us in samsara or bring us in samsara.
Call Penji lay, give out the Nanso Tete, members the tea. So if we want to be free from samsara, then we really also need to stop creating contaminated positive actions which keeps us in samsara or bring us back into samsara. We need to cut through those positive actions as well. Later, Mandaji Jaguars. Course give later, any shop dre. Ane when Sanji Compatoya gave it late in the universe. Just a Sanji Compatoya late and so core pension later Guamaris. Core pension lace with Zani Bena re meetan, Hama in the flat Cheval and Ziche later Lake Gawacha Ingrid. Just a day any core pension lady. There's a thing as a bango. Call a union dog Munduna to bango.
What I want to explain here is in terms of positive actions, karmic actions, we need to understand that there are two types of positive karmic actions. There are positive karmic actions that we do which keep us in samsara or bring us back into samsara. As such positive actions include positive actions we accumulate, which precipitate our rebirths in samsara as human beings, or as celestial beings, or divine beings, or as demigods. Okay, so positive actions result in those rebirths in samsara, and still we are samsara, we are trapped. But then there are other positive actions which are more, which do not bring us into samsara, which are geared towards attaining freedom from samsara, attaining complete enlightenment, Buddhahood. So such positive actions do not bring us into samsara. So my point here is, if we do not want to be in samsara, we do not like it, we don't want to return to samsara, then we should not do even such positive actions which could bring us into samsara.
No, that nigga chavando says that there's a thing in it. Lava thing, lava carriage, lava data, the chicky chag, grace the mum about Sawa Kinki, lava carriage, lava chag. Well, lava turnish, lava things in lava nibote, any this, any lava carriage, lava they draw us on Dota, can she draws no.
So now when we look at the three containers of Buddha's teachings, or baskets of teachings, Tripitaka, and their contents of the subject matters, and we kind of look at them. Of course, the most important of the three higher trainings is the training in higher wisdom, because it is that wisdom which can cut off the very root of samsara and free us from samsara. So that's the most important thing. But to be able to cultivate training in higher wisdom, we need to cultivate training in higher samadhi or concentration. And to be able to do that, we need to ground ourselves in training in higher ethics, you see. So the ethical practice is the foundation practice. So now you see how these three higher trainings are, related to each other.
Well, that is Taranganzo, any Samalo Naranke, Naranta, any Samal Pay kidding humans.
So those are the few things I thought of sharing today before we return to our wonderful text. And I thought that would be, good for all of us. Maybe a reminder for myself, reminder for many people, and, new teachings for others.
Well, that Cassidy, but I didn't Kasang to some the magic human. Yep, but Shang Tui, any, but how much will those conquer those in Ganando? Taji Champion, any. Tanji James Sanjay Tobin Danase Sanjay Combat Tobin Dogu Donas and then Mandriba number Sumti round some of the Google is Ganando.
I think it will be helpful to recapitulate what we did last or where we left off last week in the teaching in this text called a miscellaneous collection of Kadampa Geshe's personal advices. And remember that last time we were looking at what Master Yerba Xiangzun told his disciples, students, and through them to us. He said that if you truly want to become a Buddha, omniscient person, then you need to free yourself from three types of mess. You should be free from three types of mess, and we talked about that.
That's the reason. That's some good reason. Rank Gawa Sin the Nanto Tamadipi Gosa. That Rank Gawa Kari Druba in here. And it Sin the Nanto Tamadipi Goskan.
Of course, the Tibetan word which means mandeba, which literally means you should be free from three types of mixings. I think it's better to say three mess-ups. And so, as we said, what are the three types of mess that we should not, we should not be in? First one is whatever positive actions we do, keva, virtue, we should see that they are not messed up with our worldly concerns of this lifetime. So in other words, we should do positive actions pure of, free of worldly concerns of this life.
Cindy Namto Tamari, Cindy one to Masomba. But Cindy one to Masete, the Togo Tamsunta, I think they come here and Kitaniga and Kunota Mantis, Kunota Mantiba.
So when it says that do positive actions and see that they are not messed up with the worldly concerns of this lifetime, now what we're really talking about is that when we do anything positive, see that our motivation is not something to do with this lifetime. Like, okay, by doing these things, I may become very well known and famous, and people will like me. Maybe I become rich, and I prosper in my ways, and I have all these worldly successes of all kinds. So if we have such thoughts and concerns and motivations, then our positive actions become messed up, with the concerns of this lifetime. And the second mess up that we should watch out for is that our actions of body and speech, our physical and verbal actions are not messed up with delusions. They are not contaminated by delusions. So how can we keep ourselves free from this kind of a mess up is before we do actions of our body and speech, we cultivate positive motivations, and then we try to do the actions properly, which would which go well with our motivations positive. Then at the end, we do proper dedication of our actions. So in that way, everything is kept very clean and pure from the beginning to the end. Pure motivation, pure action, pure dedication. That's how we don't mess up our physical and verbal actions with delusions. And then the third mess up that we should watch out for, so to speak, is that our meditation is not messed up with selfish motives. That we are not doing meditation so that we personally gain some kind of profits or gains. We should be altruistically motivated to do our meditational practice. So those are the three mess ups that we should understand and watch out for. In other words, the Master is saying that what he's really talking about is that we need to subdue our mind and cultivate realizations in our mind. But as we do that, we should also see that our actions reflect correctly our realizations. There should not be a disparity, if you will, or a gap between what we are thinking and what we are doing. So our realizations in the mind should be reflected in our behavioral actions. So what does it really mean that, we need to cultivate inner realization, Tokpa, presence of excellent, realization, literally translating, and that should be reflected in the excellent behavior or actions. Now here the Master goes on to explain himself. He said, by excellent realization, Tokpa, presence of, what I'm talking about is, in terms of cultivating view or perspective, we should be very broad-minded, Yangba. You see, we should have a broad, way of thinking. Our view must not be restricted and narrowed down, pigeonhole ourselves. But it should rather be expansive. It should be broad. It should be wide, far-reaching kind of a view. I want to, recall a Tibetan anecdote here, which I think really hits on the same point. We Tibetans have a saying that even if your view or perspective or realization is as infinite as a space, but you better behave, like any other decent human beings. Okay, so don't be weird in one's behavior. One's realization may be as wide and expansive as the sky or the space, but one's behaviors, how one carries on, should accord with the decency, the decent behaviors of people in society. When we talk about phenomena, or what we call shelja, objects of knowledge, objects of comprehension, they are just innumerable. But when we talk about the nature, the ultimate nature of all this, innumerable phenomena, but the ultimate reality is just one. It's not many. Great Indian Master Aryadeva, in his 400 stanzas on the middle way called Chetuk Shedak, Shigyapa, states, as Geshe quoted the lines from his memory, the nature or the view of a phenomenon is the same as the view or the nature of all other phenomena. So basically what he's saying is that as far as the ultimate nature of phenomena is concerned, it's just one and the same. So when we talk, from conventional point of view, phenomena are just innumerable. There's a great diversity and variety of phenomena. But when we look at the way they actually exist, the ultimate nature of phenomena, it's just one. It's not different. It's not many. So what the great Indian Master Aryadeva is saying is this, that if you realize what emptiness is, or the ultimate nature of phenomenon, then by simply, directing your attention to other phenomena, you can realize the ultimate nature of all other phenomena, because the ultimate nature is the same. So if you realize the ultimate nature of a phenomenon, then it's the same as you have realized the ultimate nature of phenomena. So when we look at phenomena, we can classify them into many types. Sometimes we can say these are the diluted phenomena or impure phenomena. These are the pure phenomena, undiluted phenomena. But as far as the ultimate nature, reality of phenomena is concerned, is just the same. The ultimate nature of impure phenomena, diluted phenomena, is the same as the ultimate nature of undiluted, pure phenomena. But I should caution you that people who have not yet realized the ultimate nature of a phenomenon or of phenomena, Then they started to, come up with all these, strange viewpoints. They said, you know what? After all, in terms of the ultimate phenomena, it's all same. There's no dirty, there's no clean. Everything is same. So there's no distinction between impure and pure, or clean or unclean. It's just all same. But that is really
wrong.
That's wrong. That's a misrepresentation.
Yeah, that's right. So that I think cái chambers tawa de the thing don't need the don't need the jigwa red the ya and don't you get that sounds so you put you chag mare was and the mango into what that sound don't yours that's another half over was.
So that's a very wrong representation and a notion. So I want to say that even though all phenomena are just the same in terms of their ultimate nature, in other words, the ultimate nature or the reality of phenomena is just the same, one and only one, not many, not different. But conventionally, phenomena, are different. They are pure, impure, clean, unclean. So we cannot deny the, existence of pure and impure on a conventional status by simply arguing that all of them are same in terms of ultimate nature.
No, to me, but you were marvelous.
Conventionally, we know that darkness and illumination are not same. Are they same? But the emptiness of darkness, the emptiness of illumination or brightness is just the same. But brightness or illumination and darkness are conventionally not the same. Heat and cold are not the same. Heat is not cold, cold is not heat. But the emptiness of heat and cold is just the same. No difference. And, nose and eyes are not the same. They are different. But as far as the emptiness goes, there is no difference. The emptiness of the nose and emptiness of the eyes is just the same. There is no difference. So just take a moment and think about that. Can anyone really make a claim and say so absurdly that, nose and eyes are just the same, no difference? Are there people who say such things, that they are same?
This to same. Okay, today, that and something about Tangoris, that that tosala to but you goose and sheva togus on that.
So in terms of the view or the perspective, we need to keep broad-mindedness, broad view. But in terms of our discipline, then we need to be restricted.
Tosala toseta, go young person in the view, I'm a shebati, Lutang Ata, a day, then you any. So in terms
of, discipline, we can't be too liberal. We can't just go like, okay, whatever, I'll do anything. Because we really have to watch out and be mindful of our actions of body and speech. I already mentioned at the very beginning that it doesn't matter what levels we are on in terms of practice or whatever, but we all have got some kind of ethics to keep. The point I made earlier is this, we may not have taken the tantric vows or the ethics. We may not have taken bodhisattva ethics. We may not have taken monastic ordinations. But it does not matter. Down at the very foundation level, we all need to keep the ethics of abandoning 10 negative actions of body, speech, and mind. So we cannot be too liberal about that ethics. We cannot twist and turn and make so many exceptions here. We have to have a, you might call conservative view here. So we have to be conservative. It comes to ethical practice. In terms of viewpoint perspective, we have to be broad-minded.
The young boy say, and they consumers say, never see a title said medicine. The canon.
So in other words, we cannot take such a liberal view of the ethics and then go and do all sorts of things and which are harmful to others and then, which hurt others. We can't do that. But there's something where we have to be really brave and very courageous.
She goes at the local Yabit Shagores. The car is a new mobile Nyembo Podges, new mobile Nyembo there, Talo Chimbu.
So there are things where we have to be very courageous, very heroic, very brave. And that is, when it comes to fighting with delusions, then we have to show our heroism, our bravery, our courage.
Running Zinditani, that never the man name, Ranket of a never goes.
So what we're talking about is, metaphorically speaking, that if we are having a fight with delusions, then we really need to see that we knock out the delusions and we are the winners.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wrestling.
So this is like, you can picture it's like, we are wrestling, with delusions, and we really need to knock out the delusions. Of course, we cannot expect to win it easily. Delusion is not, it's a very, tough opponent. And of course, to fight with delusions, we also need a good weapon or a tool. So we need a good weapon. We need very strong shoulders to wield the weapon.
Very strong hand. That carries a Pumba Temple Sumana, Chirimge, Tangi Sumba, any Rang Chirim the Yabo Sumganate, Pumba Temple Chaviaris.
So we can have, good hands or the strong hands, or actually it says the strong shoulders. That means that we have to cultivate training in higher ethics. So when we are really good in training in higher ethics, it is metaphorically speaking, we got the strong hands or the strong arms or strong shoulders.
Dame to be here to go. Dame to be here that Numa to say the pay call and sings at the Zinkit, Cosorting here and sound of a teta, Dame to be here to go.
So let's say we have got strong hands and arms and shoulders, but we have no weapon really to fight our enemy of delusions. Then it's again very difficult. See, so we really need the best weapon to defeat delusions, and this is where training in higher wisdom comes in. Training in higher wisdom, in the sense realizing selflessness or emptiness, that wisdom is the best weapon we could use to defeat delusions.
Getting Jambi and those in Radiki shall name the was the military maris. That young mobile, the pay 2 years, that 20 Nangur Mato, home in Sad and Zingwe, Manjule, the 20 the Maransul paid 10 Nanguris.
Manjushri brandishes wisdom sword. Well, that's not a real knife or a sword there. But what that symbolizes is that in order to cut through delusions, we need the sort of wisdom that Manjushri is carrying. And of course, Manjushri is not carrying that sword to kill someone or hit on somebody. As Manjushri has already destroyed delusions, but he is communicating to us through that symbol that we need the sort of wisdom to cut through the enemy of delusions.
당가란처럼 그거를 가는 거야. 너무 제 개발 맵에서 저를 남이 또 비해더라 유지적으로 가는 거야.
So Manjushri's wisdom sword is communicating to us that in order to uproot delusions from within our mind, we need to cultivate the wisdom realizing selflessness.
다양한 저 힘살의 힘밖에 그스 때가는다. 영주 세상에 봐도 영주 세상이 되고 그랬다. 영주 세상도 만나와서 영주 지시하고 그랬다는다.
But then the master also talks about there are certain situations where we need to be humble.
다 영주에서 가르쳐서는 예지 고알아 소발아 제바토베 다 흉밖에 그스. 예가 별은 예고 다랑 예랑 네바셰바다 다 가리나 다 예가랑라 네 징해바 말을 들으시나 다때랑 배 종캐네 흉네 네 판네베 네네도 마시바신 종캐네 데코지 데투그레 데그레스 가는 거.
So here the master is talking about the practice of patience or tolerance. When others are, causing troubles in our life, then we should, face those difficulties or challenges with patience. This is as if like we have humbled ourselves with the practice of patience or tolerance to be able to face the challenges put forth by other people. So we must not lose our cool and retaliate against them. We must not return the harms to them, but rather we should be patient and tolerant. So in other words, be patient in the face of harms others bring to you or to us.
강가도 합득의 용토 말이나 렘베신 배 소수 에닝 학고수나 다 렘베신에 베게 다 노르든 파야 만노와 람템버도 냠성아야 그 란줄 냠성아야 그 상땅 또 세고르스 ngara 참말로.
So I think these are really very meaningful teachings, and of course there are things that we won't be able to put into practice right away. But we need to keep in our mind, and do and practice what we can. Slowly and gradually, we make progress through our practice. Whatever we can change ourselves, where we need to change, we need to correct ourselves. We should try to do that. And then, as we develop our skills and capabilities, we will be able to practice better and more. The point I want to make here is we must not, right from the very beginning, shut down our mind, thinking that, that's all about me and I can't do it. We must not let ourselves down by such a, mindset. So I think that will do for today's teaching, and I have kan mon kor kun den liya di teshu pye jor wa gen dil ya nga zu kidu so gi shen de pye na any test am digro wa gen
negre te ne chosok tho ne
pa chana
chosok thon pa tang gi is
no sir. I have just few announcements to make. I don't have any prayer requests today. The first announcement is Tibetan government in exile and Tibetan communities throughout the world. They are offering a special long life ceremony to His Holiness the Dalai Lama in January at the Debung Monastery in South India. And His Holiness has very kindly accepted the request. Now this is especially, to thank His Holiness for his, compassionate leadership for Tibetans and for the world. And also in recent times, he had, many successes meeting the heads of several, powerful Western nations. So we want to thank him for going through all the difficulties and just congratulate him. And so Tibetans are doing that. And So we thought that if any of our students would like to participate in the sense like make contributions to that ceremony, nobody should feel obligated here. Then we just thought it's nice to announce that. And if anybody would like to do that, you can contact Annie there and write a check for TDL and endorse it for that long life ceremony. And what we will do is we'll put together all the checks and we will send them to the Office of Tibet, New York. And then the other announcement is more like a reminder. Last week I said that Nyungne retreat is coming soon near you, and now it is really near you. And so next Friday, the coming Friday, which is the end of this month, Geshe will give introduction to Nyungne retreat, fasting retreat of Avalokiteshvara practice at 7:30 at the monastery there. Friday evening. And then December 1st, which is Saturday morning, the retreat begins exactly at 6:30 in the morning. So this is the first day of fasting retreat of Avalokiteshvara. Now this is really intensive practice we're talking about. Then the second day of the Nyungne will be December 2nd, Sunday. And again the retreat will begin exactly at 6:30 in the morning. And so our internet audience around the world, if there are such things around the world here listening, plugging into us, next week we do not have Sunday teachings. You can do your Nyungne practice at home, or you can recite Om Mani Padme Hum and dedicate that for His Holiness' long life. Then Monday, December 3rd, morning at 6 a.m. It will be the concluding practice of Nyungne retreat, and after one session of practice that will be finished early enough, so you will be served light breakfast, and then you can go to school or go to your work. Okay, so that's just reminders to you.
Voilà, that ranzo dana take the ane church shi be ge zao la tene sanji tembaram bo ta ji yin de ne ba ta ane jao yin no be zhe be tin ji shi be dang ban de shi ko shi be temba ta tu ji yin de zhen de me me zhen zhou yong wa ta ane xue zhong ken ge ane ta gin de ban na shi zhe be shou pom mo na ji xun di ji sha wan na yin san zhen zhou ba ta ane ji de ji kam de yin de mun ti bi ge zuo ta da yin ni tun jin lu zuo ta da me me zhen zhou yong.
Let us dedicate our collective merit for the flourishing of Dharma, the source of benefits and happiness throughout the universe. May His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all other holy and great masters live long and be successful in fulfilling their visions benefiting sentient beings. May spiritual communities throughout the world and spiritual practitioners from all traditions remain healthy, harmonious, and be successful in fulfilling their spiritual aspirations. May this and other world environments be free of all kinds of unwanted pains and problems, and beings find peace, happiness, prosperity, and spirituality.
Dona mage senje tamji mage senje tamji dinyi jinji wale drone sanji tembaram karse dinyi wale sanji komparam baje tobi jurchuchi.
Last but not certainly least, we dedicate our collective merit for all kind mother sentient beings to be free from the fears and dangers of two types of mental obscuration, and may we all reach complete enlightened state quickly.
Do chu sen chu ren bo je ma je pa na je ju ke che ba nyang ba me ba ta ko ne kon do pe wo sho to ni ta wa ren bo je ma je pa na je ju je che ba nyang ba me ba ta ko ne kon do pe wo sho ka re ra ve ko re shin kan de pe da de wa ma le jong we ne xie re se wa ten zin jiao su ye xia bei se de ba du ten yu ye sa ye be ye zhu jie me do zhang ma re ro lin ye nian de jian bo de sang jie xian do me de bu wa ye zhu wen nam da xin lao xie bo zhu yi dan gu ru ru na ma de la ni ya da ya amen.
I just want to repeat the announcement to the internet audience that next Sunday there will not be teaching. So if you're wondering what's happening, nobody will be answering you. Everybody will be silent and nobody talking. So nobody will be responding to your calls. Yeah.